What's up everyone, welcome back to Let's Play Dark Souls. In the last episode, we defeated the Belfry Gargoyles guarding the first of the two Bells of Awakening, and we ended the episode ringing that. Now we're going to make our descent back down towards the roof of the chapel, where we're going to meet a very interesting NPC, a very crucial one, should we decide to sin.
Greetings. I am Oswald of Karim, the pore, and thou art a friend. For thee, a warm welcome. Cometh thou to confess, or to accuse? For indeed all sin is my domain.
Let's go ahead and learn his gesture, and gonna go ahead and take a short little look at some of the things that he possesses. So you see indictments, karmic justice, the Book of the Guilty, Ring of Sacrifice, all these bite rings.
You are not welcome anytime. It is only human to commit a sin.
Everyone from Karim seems to have that vaguely sinister demeanor about them. Before I go on with that, I have a bit of backtracking that I have to take care of. So why don't I go ahead and just cut that out, and we will get back into the meat of things relatively quickly, instantly for you guys. So there was another function that Oswald of Karim serves that I cannot yet show off because I have not yet sinned. And sin is something of a background mechanic in this game. For instance, if you betray a covenant, that's considered a sin against you, or a sin that you've committed, and you have to absolve your sins. Otherwise, it has gameplay consequences, usually in the form of some kind of NPC hostility, but there are other consequences for other types of sins. So let's say you betray your covenant in some way. You have to absolve your sins before you can rejoin it, and the cost of absolving a sin is 500 times your current soul level. So let's say you have a soul level 10 character and you've sinned and you want to seek absolution. That soul level 10 character has to pony up 5,000 souls to be absolved. And the whole practice sounds a lot like back when the Catholic Church would sell indulgences to sinners in order for them to acquire some semblance of peace of mind. They would basically sell for money the idea of redemption. That you didn't necessarily have to be a good, upstanding, God-fearing citizen. You just had to pay some corrupt priest to absolve you of your sins. Now, you commit sins, like I said, in a few different ways. Betraying your covenant is one of those, and how you betray your covenant can differ. One way is to kill certain key NPCs, or certain optional bosses. Or if you invade players online, they can go to Oswald and buy an indictment, and they can use that indictment to enter you into the Book of the Guilty, which you also saw that he has. So there's one sin you can commit which you cannot be absolved of until you go into New Game Plus, and then all of that resets. And you'll see what that sin is between the mid and the very late game. I'm not quite sure what yet. Some of you probably already know. I kind of hinted at it in the comments section, but we'll leave that just a little bit of a mystery until then. So sinning can affect how NPCs treat you, their hostility towards you. PvP sins are much more interesting though, because there is a whole covenant dedicated to dealing with people who invade you, who sin against you in PvP. By the way, I told you guys I'd be back for Havel soon enough, and ooh, that was a great start. Now that I have a more stable shield and a bit more health and endurance, I feel confident enough that Havel won't one-shot me through my shield, provided I don't dodge him anyway. So I'm just gonna fight him now, and he's a pretty easy mini-boss provided you avoid getting one-shotted again, because he does do a lot of damage. And I'll continue on with my explanation while I wreck him, even though kind of a dicey situation there. So, the covenant I was talking about was the Dark Moon Blade Covenant, and they hunt the guilty and bring justice. whatever can be considered just in this world. And yeah, that's Havel. He drops a ring. That is like the Ring of Great Strength from Demon Souls. It increases our maximum equip burden. The Darkmoon Blade Covenant. You can invade players who have sinned in 2 ways. You can use the Darkmoon Seance Ring, which lets you invade players who have committed the one particular sin I mentioned earlier, the one that can't be absolved, the one I'm being kind of cagey about the details with and coy. And you invade them, I believe, in Dark on Orlando. And then the Darkmoon Blade Covenant members also get to use a special Blue Eye Orb to invade players from the Book of the Guilty, and you invade them as a spirit of vengeance. And as a spirit of vengeance, you hunt down the guilty, kill them, and then slice their ears off. And you take those souvenirs, I believe they're called Souvenirs of Reprisal, and you turn those into the Darkmoon Covenant to rank up. So they reward you based on how many sinners you bring to justice by killing them, and again, cutting their ears off as proof of your deed. Oh my god, I should do another playthrough when I'm not recording and name my character either like Cole Phelps or Donnelly or something so I can just go around doling out justice upon the wicked. Man, this sounds like a good idea for a challenge playthrough. What would I do as Cole Phelps, though? Oh, Dark Souls is kind of the gothic fantasy version of 1940s LA. So, what else do I want to say? By the way, this is, the lower Undead Burg, sorry. And I just want to come up here to unlock this shortcut. This is the room that is right across the bridge from the bonfire. You see everything around here leading up to Tourist Demon into that area. I might go around and hit that bonfire just real quick. And the lower Undead Burg is where we're gonna be fighting the boss that everybody hates, the Capra demon. But we'll get back to the lower Undead Burg in just a moment. Where was I with all of this sinner talk? Ah, Oswald. Oswald is a bishop of Velka, the goddess of sin, who is supposed to be a rogue god, and that is a very interesting detail of her person. And Velka is also referenced a lot more than Fina, who Lautrec followed, so we know a bit more about Velka. So Velka was the goddess of sin. Some people speculate that she was the original leader of the Darkmoon Blade Covenant. So Oswald, just to get back to him for a second, is from the same place as Lautrec, I think I might have mentioned. Yeah, I did. Who we just killed last episode right before the gargoyles. Gave us quite a bit of trouble too. And Oswald also sells all of the bite rings, which were created under some very nasty circumstances commissioned by the Earl of Karim, Sir Arstor. I believe that's his name. I always get his name mixed up with Astora, which is something else. Lautrec's weapon, but also the one that gave me so much trouble by ignoring my shield, the Shotel, was also created by the same person, the Earl of Karim, Lord Astor. And Arstor also created something way more sinister than any of those things.
Somebody.
The Shotel. Oh, right, I
Please
forgot
let
about
me
this
out of here.
NPC.
Somebody.
One sec.
Anybody, help me. Unlock the door.
Damn, I'm finished. How did this ever happen?
Okay, let's get him out. I think this is Griggs, I want to say. Oh, shit. I forgot to get the residence key that I skipped over getting. Oh, damn it. Oh, well, I'll go back for that later on. So, about Lord Arstor's secret, sinister creation, which is no longer such a secret, given that Oswald is selling them. Arstor created the Purging Stones, which cleanse the user of curse, which is a really nasty status ailment that when you're afflicted by it, you die instantly and respawn, and you're locked at half health until you remove the curse. Locked at half health, kind of just like what happens when you die in Demon Souls and you go into soul form. Arstor found a way around this really nasty status ailment, this curse effect. And the purging stones are the skulls of people, and they absorb the curse. The curse is transferred from the host into the skull. Not only was our store experimenting on living beings to find a way to cure the curse, he was storing those curses in skulls. Given what we know about it, what a sketchy guy he was, I think he was storing those curses in the purging stones in order to later weaponize them. Oh, before I forget, there was originally supposed to be a covenant based around Velka, by the way, but that was cut before release, very possibly, and it's very possible we'll see more of Velka in Dark Souls 2. And E&B, by the way, is likely spot on with why that was cut out, because the Dark Moon Covenant probably absorbed the role of Velka's Covenant since they both revolve around sinning and punishing the guilty. By the way, these guys look super familiar. They are the ninja bandit type enemies, I believe. I think they're, for the most part, the same model that you find in the later levels of Boletarian Palace. That forgoes any weird speculation about the connection between Demon Souls and Dark Souls. I'm sure I'll get around to talking about that in due time, but that's not for right now, because there's still so much to talk about with Velka and Karim and Lautrec and Oswald and Lord Arstor. And I'm kind of all over the place with all those explanations of the Dark Moon Blade Covenant, because it all kind of ties in a way that I think is really interesting. And it's talking about all this stuff now is kind of giving me some new ideas about what I previously dismissed in the last episode as Lautrec and Fina's storyline not really going anywhere. Before I finish that thought off, though, this is Capra Demon, a boss that tends to give people a lot of trouble, and he's mainly considered hard because you fight him in this cardboard box of an arena, and just entering the door means his pet doggies have already clipped 2 inches into your butt. But that's okay, because we just ran over to the right, ran and roll dodged his very first attack, and then this isn't going too well, but the idea is to get his dogs to follow you up the stairs and then take care of them before you deal with Capra himself. He can come up the stairs though, so I wish he hadn't hit me on the way down, so I just have to find a moment. Yeah, okay, looks like he didn't hit me while I was drinking, which is weird. Even if he had, I should have survived that. The fight tends to look a lot more messy than it actually is, so it's not too big of a deal. It's not going as well as I would like it to, but it's one of those fights where you kind of have to go, if I take damage, that's perfectly fine. I can't believe this goddamn dog is still alive. The main issue I had in the beginning of this fight was that the dogs got stuck behind Capra Demon and couldn't make it up the stairs. Normally that doesn't happen. Normally they will make it up before Capra, and then you can just plunge down onto him. You kind of have to take advantage of the way pathing works in this one. Missed a plunging attack. Shit. Once you clear the dogs out, you don't have as much eating away your stamina, though. You don't have as much hitting you from multiple angles, and you're free to really just block his very slow attacks. You can roll dodge through them if you like, and you can just deal with Capra normally. The dogs, again, are the real threat in this fight. As long as the other thing is that I have to point out, if you roll to the left side as soon as you enter the fog gate, a lot of the times you can get pinned against the wall between the dogs and Capra, and that will very often result in your death because you'll just run out of stamina. You won't have time between the very fast dog attacks and Capra staggering his attacks. You won't have enough time to clear anything out of the way and give yourself breathing room. If you roll to the right and then run up the stairs from the beginning of the fight and make sure that you're just taking care of the dogs and you're managing the little chaotic elements of the fight, you'll be perfectly fine with that fight. It'll look dicey. It can look very hairy, but you'll usually be very safe. You just have to not be reckless or make any serious errors in that one. That fight is a bit like having a sword fight in a phone booth. Now, I just have to make sure that I remember what my thoughts about Oswald and Lautrec and Velka and all them were. Okay. So what we know about Lautrec is that he's on some sort of mission, and he's imprisoned in the parish chapel. If you free him, he can aid you with a few boss fights, but that's mostly irrelevant. Eventually, though, he will wind up killing the Firekeeper at Firelink Shrine, and he'll take her soul. And you can invade Lautrec in a room in Orlando near the boss fog. I think it's the ballroom right outside. And if you kill Lautrec after you've invaded her, this NPC doesn't have anything particularly interesting to say, I don't think. Oh, this is a really nifty shortcut, by the way. If you take the soul back from Lautrec after you've invaded him in Orlando, this is assuming that you don't kill him in the chapel, and you let him kill the Firekeeper. You can take her soul back and revive Anastasia for a side quest. And this brings a few questions up to me. For one, why is he after Anastasia? Why does he single her out to kill her and then disappear back to Orlando? Or, well, I suppose it's his phantom in Orlando, but still. Why the Firekeeper there? Why take her soul? By the way, her Firekeeper soul is a unique soul, which an interesting detail in and of herself. So there's something that you have to know about Anastasia and why she doesn't talk to us at first. Once you complete the side quest, I believe she begins talking to you. And some of the questions it brings up. Why is he after her, and who imprisoned him, which I think is, between the two questions, way more interesting. Anastasia was said to have had her tongue cut out for speaking some god's name in vain. So I'm wondering, did she speak ill of Fina, whom Lautrec is devoted to, or was she just collateral damage on whatever Lautrec's mission was? Also, that thing about Velka being a rogue god gets to me in this context, because... What if Fina, who was a god, sinned? If Lautrec forsook everything, presumably his homeland of Karim and everything else, for Fina, and Velka punishes sinners one and all, that could include gods. And perhaps that's why he's in prison. Oswald, Lautrec's countryman, and Bishop of Velka could have been the one to imprison him. This could also explain why Velka is a rogue god, because she sought to punish not only Lautrec, but Fina, who might as well have been pulling his strings. If you punish a god for sinning in this world, does that make her... Is that the reason why she's considered a rogue god, because she punishes even other gods? And there's going to be more later that supports the theory of some internal conflicts between the various deities of Dark Souls, and more interesting stuff to be had with Velka, the gods, Havel, Lautrec, all of them later. But unfortunately, we are out of time for this episode. So thank you guys for watching. Take it easy. Have a good one.